Okay. All right, everybody, welcome. Appreciate you guys joining me on Monday. It's still morning, so that's a good thing, right? As I was telling some other people, if you just joined us, this is actually our last live class for geography, okay? And then the rest of it, we have the final test or the final exam. I can't remember what I called it. Post test, I think. And and then the end of the block is just around the corner here. So it's crazy how fast time goes. I put in the chat real quick the Nearpod link. Today, as our last unit, we're going to be going over political systems. Just so you know, this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes and just the virtual expectations. Make sure we're following along with the Nearpod lesson, using the chat tool respectfully and appropriately, and then also responding to questions and instruction the first time. Particularly today, yes, we're going to talk about political systems. I know politics is a hot topic sometimes, and some people get upset and emotions start running. I just want to try to play the basic facts and just kind of go along with it and go from there. And then, whatever opinions anybody has, they can just keep them to themselves. So, okay, we're going to get into it in just a second, but let me just run through the class real quick. Okay, so real quick, as you can see right here, live class right here, lesson 6. Actually, it's a quiz, not an assignment. I apologize. Guess I need to change that. It's a quiz, and then there's also a course reflection that you'll be doing that's due this week. If we look at the plan, which I forgot to pull up prior, but we'll give it a second to load. As we look right here, why isn't it doing that? That's weird. Okay. The post test, actually I said let's do this Friday, but I'm actually pushing it to next week. But if you want to get it done earlier and get the class finished, just so you're aware, October 12th is the last day. So you got like a week and a half to basically catch up if you need to. And then where you're going to find everything is in here, lesson 6 quiz, the course reflection. Some people have messaged me about this assignment right here. They've had some issues in regards to downloading this. You can just use a regular like Google slide or PowerPoint or anything like that to create a slide. If you really need help on this, I can email you a document there and go from there. So hold on real quick. Okay. So that's kind of where we're at there. And let's get into our lesson. Okay. So with politics, as you can imagine, the country is a little bit divided, and the way, just because of how our Constitution's set up and everything like that, leans over that there is really only like 2 parties that can really be in control, right? And so currently right now, that's the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Even though there are plenty of third parties, which we'll talk about, they do have some influence, but not a ton. So that's why over the past 100 years or so, we've only had members of one of 2 parties be able to be president or hold a high elective office. So the first thing we're going to do to kind of explain some of it is this quick video. So let's explain that, and then we'll go from there.
There are 2 main political parties in the United States, the Republicans and the Democrats. What is a political party? Why are there only two main parties? A political party is a group of people who have joined together because they share common principles, common beliefs, and common values, and they seek to control government by winning elections. Members of a party work to convince the government to adopt laws, regulations, and programs which reflect their party's beliefs. Political parties have a long history, both in the United States and in other countries as well. The United States has what is known as a two-party system. A two-party system is a political structure in which only two political parties have a genuine chance of winning elections. However, it does not mean that only two parties are allowed to exist, as there are numerous other smaller parties. The two-party system developed in Great Britain. In the latter half of the 1600s and throughout the 1700s, two political parties, the Whigs and the Tories, emerged and established themselves as the dominant parties. This long-standing tradition of two main parties probably led to the eventual adoption of a similar system in the United States. Initially, the Founding Fathers intended for the American government to avoid politics. In fact, in his farewell address, George Washington warned against the existence of political parties, suggesting that such organizations were the enemies of government and would only distract government from its intended purpose. However, early political disagreements gave rise to the Federalist Party and the Democratic-Republican Party. Since that time, the United States has nearly always had two dominant parties. Currently, the two main political parties in the United States are the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Every political party has what is known as a platform. A platform is a public statement of the party's main beliefs and guiding principles. Each of the stated principles of a platform is known as a plank. Party platforms can be rather lengthy, with modern parties having hundreds of planks. The party will adopt or update its platform every 4 years at the party's national convention. Political parties serve a wide variety of purposes. One of the most important functions a party serves is to nominate candidates. This helps a voter narrow his or her choices. Instead of voters studying a potentially limitless field of candidates, each party selects nominees. This allows the voter to focus attention on just 3 or 4 candidates and make a more informed decision. Another function of political parties is to inform voters. Whether it's through local, grassroots involvement such as letter-writing campaigns, or party leaders speaking on television, parties attempt to let the general public know what's going on. This could also take the form of passing out flyers or pamphlets, or staging a large protest rally. The party that is in power can also set the agenda. This means that the party leaders will establish a course for the nation to follow. Whether it's a good course or a bad course would likely determine how long that particular party stayed in power. One final function of political parties is to serve as watchdog. Both parties do an effective job of watching the other party to make sure they are doing the things they are supposed to. If one party becomes corrupt, the other will surely inform the public. So, even though the Founding Fathers did not desire political parties to exist, they will surely continue to be a part of the American political system for years to come.
All right. So I thought that was just a little bit, just kind of a basic information that I could grab out to you. So a little bit of just kind of going through what they talked about. One, political parties is just a group of voters with common interests who want to influence the government. The U.S. has a two-party system because there are only two main parties that can hold the majority of the power. The function of the political parties they talked about there, they nominate candidates, inform voters, ensure candidates are qualified, help govern in Congress and state legislatures, act as watchdogs, especially for officials of other parties. So we talked about third parties just a little bit on there. So one thing that happened in the 1992 election, so this was President H.W. Bush, which was President W. Bush's father. He only made it one term, and he ran against Bill Clinton in 1992. And one of the things that really kind of stopped him from winning was actually a third-party candidate called a billionaire by the name of Ross Perot came in and voted, or actually came in as a third party and got a lot of the vote in some of the areas that were usually Republican. The Republicans turned to Ross Perot. It actually turned the election that Bill Clinton became, or President Clinton became president. So even though third parties are not likely to win, they do have an outcome in the election sometimes. So the two main parties, the first one's the Republican Party that I'm going to talk about. They were born from the dispute over slavery. Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president, and they tend to support stronger state governments, less change and more traditional, less taxes on the rich, less government spending, and their symbol is the elephant. Okay, and some big leaders. This is a little bit older. So the last Republican president was Donald Trump, and then you have some candidates: Mitt Romney, President Bush, President Reagan, Abraham Lincoln. Sarah Palin was a candidate at one point in time, and Condoleezza Rice was in the cabinet for President Bush. The Democratic Party has its roots back to Jefferson. Jefferson's Democratic Republican Party. They tend to support stronger federal government, more change, taxing the rich more, spending on government and social programs. And their symbol is the donkey. And some of of course, the current president right now is a Democrat, President Biden. But like John F. Kennedy was a Democrat, Barack Obama, President Clinton, Hillary Clinton, she ran for president, and then Oprah Winfrey is a strong Democratic supporter. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys take a second here of what we just learned. This is just a drag and drop. Okay, and so I'll give you guys a second to fill in the blank for those that are on the Nearpod. Okay, so if you were to get this right, it would be just like this. Okay. All right, and this is just kind of what we talked about before. We have talked a little bit about third-party candidates, or third-party minority parties, what they're called. They rarely win elections. However, they can affect the outcome of election, kind of like we talked about with the Ross Perot in 1992. The reasons they fell is there's not enough votes to get on the ballot. They have trouble raising money, and they lack name recognition. What's the difference between Republican and Democrat? So if you look right here, you can kind of see the Democrats, right? They're strong central government. So meaning they like things more at the federal level, which means they're federalist. Socially liberal, so a more adapt to change. Loose interpretation of the Constitution, meaning that they think the Constitution should be evolving over time as time goes on. They believe in the free market economy. However, they think government should have an impact and regulations on that. And when they do something what's called lean toward the left. Yeah, so the Republicans that more, I guess they'd say traditional, the strict interpretation of the Constitution means that like they don't think the Constitution evolves over time. It's not like a living document. It's something that you have to, that's the rules we have to follow unless it's changed. Which I see some good things in that. They also free market economy, so not have a lot of government intervention in the economy. They believe in more state rights. So does left mean liberal? So right and left, basically, so where it came up from that is in Congress, those of the Democratic Party would sit on the left and those of the Republican Party would sit on the right. And so now they kind of think of it as ideology, meaning that far left would be, and the left I think is more liberal, but I think it's more of, and that's something that if you guys want to do it, I'm not making it a requirement, but at the end, you can take a little quiz to kind of see where you're at. But most liberals tend to lean left. So be more like Democrats rather than that. Than America. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a lot going on in social media with everything. But it's, and this is kind of what it means, the right and the left. I'm glad I actually had this. I forgot I had this slide in here. But the right people are people who hold more to like traditional values, like family units, that kind of stuff. More traditional in the way of, let's see here, I'm trying to think, like following the Constitution, the way things always were. And the left are more people who support a lot of change in society, and progressive, right, is another word they kind of use. So if you want to do this, let me just click on this real quick. This is completely up to you if you want to take it. But if you come here and you click this quiz button, it's about 20 questions or so. And if you do it, it will get you to know what you turn out to kind of be, what your political leanings are. Yeah, so someone said, yeah, so the far left, very far left would be communist. The very far right would be fascist. Yeah. But there is a little bit a difference there because, I mean, there's somewhat like anarchy, right? It would be more like libertarian, which means like no government at all. And then below, like more control, right, would be more of your fascists and communists. They're always in control. But you can kind of see where you're lie at. But we do have like a little quiz that you'll take this week, quiz 6. And that's just kind of a little bit about political parties. It may ask you who some leaders are and stuff like that. And then also a reflection of the class. And then if you're ready to do it, do the post test and get the class over with. But let me open up these slides. I'm going to go back to the very beginning here. And I'm going to just open up the slides so you guys can go to any of them that you'd like to. But that is really our class today. Lorena, it looks like you raised your hand. What can I?
Will this be our last live class for geography?
That is correct. Yeah. So if we look at the calendar up here, this will be our last live class. And then basically, I don't have it in here. I'm sorry. I'm going to put it in right there. End of the block. The end of the block is, oops, I got to spell block right, is October 12th. Okay. So you want to get everything in there. And then I'll move it right now. The post test, I'm not going to have it required until next week. So I believe that's the 6th. Is that right? So I'm going to move that for you guys till the 6th. So, yep, but this will be the last live class. Yep, because this is only a block class. So it ends the block.